Okay, let's just check this out, see if it's working. Okay, seems to be working. So, I'm gonna drill right now. Okay. I will be right back. I'm just gonna go and record a little video for Instagram, notifying people that I'm here in existence. And I think starting this particular stream, I'm gonna start actually uploading the streams, because I've looked through the streams and there's things that I don't quite like. So, anywho, now. Dang. I'm gonna go plug this in and start cleaning up. I need a brush for that. Oh dear. So I just learned how to make a damn bun. Today, I want to try it out. I'm gonna do it higher. Technically, I haven't started because the stream starts at 12. So, I do it that's pretty often. But doing the bun is different. I can feel it in front. It's not right. I'll deal with that later. I'll deal with it later. I don't really have a whole lot of time before it technically starts. So. Back, D-horse back. Yay got me. I didn't choose to move, but the spirit told me, yay. That back. It's not very convenient now, is it? I didn't like. I haven't read anything in like 12 hours. Which is unfortunate. All right. So we're nearly 100 pages in, and basically it's discussing features and so I've passed like all the features. My bad. I was wrong. So it first starts out with just discussing how Homo sapiens, like their origin and that sort of thing. Then it gets into like terminology and the different joints, ligaments, muscles, and how they essentially work. But it's just a basic version of that. It's not necessarily super in-depth yet because it'll focus on everything very soon. But it's more or less discussing the factors throughout the body, the commonality between the muscles from for instance, from your calf to like pectorals, just like how it stretches, what it uses to actually perform. So like amino acids and different I can't think of words right now. Give me a moment. All right, so I think we're decent right now. So the one thing that I haven't really Welcome to the 7th Generation Club. What up? 1 time for the home down the ranch road. 2 time for the groove of the city, though. So I'm not really going to be looking at like Twitch messages just because. Oh, it would help if I plug this in. I'm stupid. I'm not really going to be looking at Twitch message. I'll be looking at message on YouTube just because I want to grow the platform there because it's a lot easier rather than Twitch because Twitch is very. Come on. Try to do it with one hand. It's kind of limited. All right, so where I'm starting off in the book is drawing the skull. So page 102, there's like, what, maybe 800 pages? So it's a decent amount to get through. I'd like to get through as much as I can today. So that means walking through. I wish. Let's just stray off for a bit. How unlike me. Just kidding. That was being facetious, but the the entire book is just like it's very visual. It's not necessarily discussing things as much as like Bridgman or Loomis. So it's going to be hard for me to explain everything that I would like to explain because there is a lot of content in the book itself, and I wish the book was more accessible and I could somehow produce it here for everyone to see, so page by page. But I don't necessarily have that option yet. I could potentially scan in pages, and then I'll place them on a reference, and then I'll just place them right beside me, which could be helpful to you, but I'm not necessarily sure how well it's gonna work out. So anyhow, let's just get into it. So it starts off by just talking. I'm going to run down. I'm not necessarily going to discuss the appearance of what they're showing. I'll start drawing that as soon as I think it's relevant. So just heading in. So drawing the basic shape of the skull. So far, we learned many things about the skull. However, reading about the skull many times is nowhere as effective as actually drawing it. So now we will draw the skull. Before we start, I want to share with you a song I used to sing as a child. And it just gets into like 3 worms crawling. It's referring to brow. Breakfast plate crack. It's the eye structure. Lunch plate crack. I guess the other eye. Doesn't necessarily say. Open the windows. It's raining. It's referring to your mandible and the teeth. Oh, how scary a skull. Pretty, I guess, childish. I don't know, but he's trying to make it as available to everyone as he can. So he's trying to make it as easy for everyone to learn based on this book. The book's really good. So, I mean, I think anyone can really look through it and kind of learn from it. I'm just going to draw an ellipse. Or maybe just a circle. I don't know. Or it's the same thing. I don't really care for terminology. It's not great, but it'll have to do. I remember how I drew rudimentary looking skulls while humming this song. Just because the drawing is simple doesn't mean that it's a bad drawing. This song serves as an example of how anyone can draw if they just follow certain rules and steps. Yeah. Trying to draw the skull all at once is very difficult. I know that. But if I tell you to draw a circle, half the circle, and draw squares inside, it's not that difficult, right? The drawing process we're about to follow is basically a repetition of these steps. You do not need to have special artistic talent. All right, so it starts out with step 1, 2, and 3. And as shown, now it's pretty simple. And they just like half a circle indicating essentially where the brow is. Half the circle horizontally, and then draw tilted squares on both sides. So these are eye sockets. Just by following these simple and easy steps, you have already drawn the basic shape of the skull. In this way, you can start with small steps. Now that you've taken the first step, let's continue. All right, front view. the first time they showed it, it was just like sort of sketchy stuff. Whereas the following below it's showing the front view, but in a lot more depth. So it's really, we're just gonna stick with the sketchy sort of appearance. But all right, so front view. Let's add the eyes because it's sort of important to indicate any protrusions, which we're going to not discover, but sort of discuss. All right, so next will be side view. Same idea, a circle. If I can draw the circle, Jesus. Jesus. And one of the things I don't necessarily want to start doing is educating a particular streamer that I watch. I said that it's quite the slippery slope. You get into it and you don't necessarily have any alternative. After a while, you sort of kind of stick with it because your audience is essentially students. So I'd rather not get into the whole teaching thing. I'm just going to do this as an educator for myself. I just think it would be sort of interesting to have others sort of learn from it, hopefully. Because this is all going to be available, so might as well make it available too. Like it's pretty expensive book, so I'd like others to have the accessibility that I do. It did take a very long time to arrive. What was funny about it was I had purchased Stonehouse's book. I kept looking on the site because I'd officially bought it about like 10 days after the first sale of pre-orders. And the second wave of pre-orders were said to be sent out soon after. It ended up never happening, and they kept pushing it back month after month. I'm assuming based on demand. So I was just super upset about the whole thing, in which I had to wait a significant amount of time to get the book that was going to be super helpful for me, both getting my name out there and like improving my skills. So it took roughly like 3 months, and I make the joke that it took well, when I got my copy, it came in a week earlier than expected, according to the shop application. It said it was a week out, and it said it would arrive at a certain time. Arrived a week early, which I was super excited about, and I read quite a bit of this book, like nearly 100 pages, and which, I mean, pages itself are informative, but they're not necessarily a lot to read. But like, I learned a bunch in the amount of time in just a short amount of time. But I joke that it came in a week early from being 3 months late. So All right, let's label this as let's just say we'll label this so. So we'll move on. I think the next work is all right. So in about 12 pages, we're going to be dealing with facial muscles as well as muscles in the neck. That will come later, and I might actually do that the following stream. So I want to say starts at 7 o'clock tonight. So now, okay. See, the problem with this is really it should be a little lower. Or maybe not, no. So, you know what? Let's just back up, indicate where the half is. I think what I did was, no, actually, yeah. What I did was, this should be a little further forward. So I think I'm just going to fix that up. Now, I just had one of those moments where I forgot whether or not I was recording, and I got a little worried. Which is always terrifying. I'd imagine that happens to others just as frequently. To all my relations, welcome to the 7th Generation Club. What up? One time down the hole, down the res road, 2 times for the crew, where the city go. Doesn't have the cream and animal. Yeah, you know, I'm an animal. One time for the home, down the res road, 2 times for the crew, where the city go. Look, do your head hang low? Just a walk to the flow, credit to me in the good. I'm not ashamed of. I always forget the next series of words. Come on. Jesus Christ. Creator. Creator. It looks a little silly. That's okay. I think it's acceptable. I don't think it needs to be perfect, even though. All right, so. So he says this indicates space for the brain, and he's referring to this portion. Now, he's also stating how this is 1/4 and this is 1/2. All right, he says the sides protrude a little to make space for the brain and protect it. And he's referring to this and also towards the back of the head. That's the occipital bone, and that's also to protect the brain. All right, so now we can start extending this a bit further in detail. I'm just going to head down here. We're going to do the same thing, draw a circle, make the same half it. 1/4. All right. Now, this is 1/3. 1/3. Now, the mandible, the jaw, is the other portion of this. This will be 1/2. 1/2. Now, all right, so let's about halfway is when the ramus or ramus of the mandible, like right here, here. See what we're going for? I hope so. All right, so we have this now. I'm going to do the same thing right beside me, but just going to discuss a little more about maxilla, which is like right here. Should probably indicate on the actual drawing. So the maxilla is right here. And you know what? Maybe for every change, I add a different color. So the maxilla will use red. But for now, let's just focus on recreating what we just made. So there's some faces that we've all seen before that just have features to the face, like the eyes, specifically the eyes, that are either closer than we typically see or like further. And I guess that's just really this portion being further or closer. It's really doesn't really. There's no normal. There's no standard, I guess. Nevertheless, the hell was that? I need a ponytail. I'll be right back. Because it's driving me nuts. Actually, I'm just going to make some braids. Let's just do some braid work. Okay, so what I've been doing lately has been doing one over the ear and then one behind the ear. It's easier to start out with the one behind, but I think they turn out better when I start with the front. But typically I'm looking at a mirror seeing how it is. Whereas right now I can only see the live that I have beside me. And gotta say, it's not very helpful when things are a couple seconds behind. There's a delay. So let's just get going. I got some new comics and I think they look pretty cool. So my friend Shane, he recommended this dude named Bendis, Brian or Michael Bendis, something like that. And he's really good. It sort of reminds me of like a less violent version of the show, because I should probably refer to who Michael Bendis is and what he writes. So Michael Bendis is a writer for Marvel. I'm not necessarily sure what he's currently doing now, but his older work and some of the better stuff that he did, specifically the one I'm referring to, is Daredevil. And the first omnibus that I got of Michael Bendis, his Daredevil, it's freaking phenomenal. So one of the things that I hate about shows like the CW is people are constantly last second saving people, in which this sort of comic, I know they're really non-comparable just because one is a show and the other is not. I should probably fix this, but we're gonna work with what we got. So with my hair, I can't really brush it unless I've dampened it. So, and I know I should be working, but this will take me out 10 minutes out of a 3-hour stream. So, suck it up. In the actual series by Bendis, he refers to Fisk, Wilson Fisk, having knowledge of who Daredevil is, and I sort of assumed it would have been like the start of like an official Daredevil series. I don't know why I said official. They're all technically, anything that I read is. But I'm like trying to focus on two different things, which is not working out too well for me. Well, anyhow, I thought it was going to start where he's sort of feeling the reins of how it is to be Daredevil, and I was very much wrong when specifically Karen Page and Elektra are dead. Like, those characters are donezo, gone, which has traumatized him. And it's also strange having just started getting into comics, and one of the main like features of the comics is they include all the like Marvel characters. So it's a little different when you see like Black Widow with Daredevil, and like Deadpool with Spider-Man and that sort of thing, just because I'm so used to like cinema and that sort of thing, where they have all these deals, having ownership of certain characters and worlds and all that sort of thing. So when I read that Black Widow was like dating or what was like the ex of Matt Murdock, it was very jarring because I only expected characters like Matt Murdock, and of course like Foggy and Karen and Elektra and like Frank Castle. So when I first started reading, and Peter Parker was there, of course Black Widow, and a few other characters, like of course like Jonah Jameson. I don't know how to feel because I'm not used to it, but I'm really open to getting into all these worlds, from DC to Image to Marvel. Like, I think the biggest goal for me is to read as much as I can throughout my lifetime. All right. Is it enough? Let's see. It might be enough. I just wanted to like get the hair out of the way. So let me get my hat. All right, back to it. Let's get these off there. So 1/3, 1/3, and about 1/3. So down, 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 spinning around. Okay. Now, we've got that. Looks a little weird, not gonna lie. I think I give it a little too much. I just watched this this like live action short, which I guess had some sort of pandemic. It's about 9-10 years old, and the visual effects are stunning, especially the like humanoid modeling that they used. It looks fantastic. Of course, there's very little movement with like the jaw and stuff, so like that little uncanny valley effect doesn't really occur. But I thought honestly it was really good. All right, so like I said with the mandible, I'm gonna do a different color. Now, this we'll get into more. You know what I would like to see right now? I want to see Tenet. Okay. Draw a shaped shell or blunt arrow shape that starts from between the orbits to the reference line for the lips. This is the maxilla. In the middle of it, there will be a nasal cavity. So we got all that. The one difference between them is this has a little more spacing because the mouth has to like the mandible, I guess. Forget it. That doesn't really matter. All right. Now, we're going to move on. Let's see how this looks. All right, so step 5, draw the temporal lobe. Draw the temporal lobe, which is going to be up here. Temporal line and zygomatic arch that starts from above the orbit and continues towards the outside of the orbit. The zygomatic bone is between the zygomatic arch and maxilla. So I'll get to all that stuff. All right, so I'm going to do this on both sides. So this is zygomatic arch, and it's basically like this little indicator. Down, down, spinning around. You're gonna love it. All right. Now, It looks a little silly. It's just the sizing. I wish I would have increased the size when I had the chance, but I mean, we're kind of far in. So this really should be the I should probably fix this because it's kind of important. I would love if this would actually begin to. Thank you. So I think I did this a little wrong. No. Trellis. All right, so this really should be. Add lines inside the mandible and draw the nasal bone to complete. Wow, this looks more like a skull, right? It looks like the skull has a smile. Now, they're referring to. We're going to use the same color. We're just going to use blue. We'll put it all together, but I mean, for now, this is what we're working with. It's a little screwed up. All right, now it wants us to do basically the same thing, but all right, forget all this. I'm gonna create a final version of it below just so it looks a lot better, because I think the step-by-step was a little not for me. I'm just used to knowing how it looks and just kind of doing it. All right, so I'm just working based off their steps. So Salador. Forget what it's called, but there's this point, which is sort of like the apex. I'll just call it the apex. So it's the highest, it's the furthest point. This is technically the apex. So the highest point. Now, let's move on. I want to do the side. So from 105 to 106. We're working with the side view of the skull. So let's move on from that. Let's get a better space. Basic circle. And a little intrusion called the inion. Okay. And external occipital protuberance. Here's that little. Now, though the entire book discusses different regions and the climate and the so what essentially creates human beings is this an embodiment of factors. So you have genealogy, but what stems from that is through evolution you have 6 different humanoid species, Homo sapiens essentially coming out on top and surviving. So thousands and thousands of years ago, people started spreading across the globe at various points, and depending on their region, so one thing that I've never quite understood is the identity of stating that some creature started at point A. So they say that people start at Africa and from there branched out to other neighboring regions. So heading towards Europe, heading towards like Western Asia, it's interesting because I don't necessarily, because there were indigenous people throughout all of these locations. So you have indigenous people of Turtle Island, otherwise known as North America, and then you have indigenous people of South America and the Caribbean and the Pacific Islands and the Atlantic Islands. It's just interesting stating that there were individuals who start predominantly from Africa, but you're having historical significance in other locations of the map, and they say that they're long, or just as long as individuals from Africa. It's I'm not. I need to do more research into it. There's this um, individual named Kim Tallbear, and she discussed about North America. There is Noam Chomsky, who discusses linguistics and all that sort of thing. Then you have what's her name? What's her name? There's another individual who talks about like Eastern Asia and the origins of mythology and that sort of thing there, and their indigenous communities and all of that. So it's a matter of determining, like, there's several factors. There's genealogy. So I'm going to get rid of that. Genealogy. Then you have climate. That goes from cold, hot. Then you have like humidity. Of course, with climate, you have environmental factors. So you'll have tropical locations. You'll have more locations that are up, like at higher elevations, that are colder climates, and then you'll have there's a whole number of things regarding climate and your environment, and those are massive factors. I spoke about in a previous stream how your eyes, Asian individuals and indigenous, like Inuit and indigenous individuals from like Australia and that sort of region, there's a specific reason for it. So you have, let me pull up there's a name for the radiation around the globe, and that also factors in. So I'm going to write radiation. So we have global radiation, and there's a difference. So individuals both from the Inuits, and you have individuals Mandarin. If you like pull up just like the eyes alone are very specific and very similar, almost identical. And the reason for that is because of colder climates. Colder climates produce snow, which in turn means that a lot of the UV light, not UV. Let me pull up there's a page in here that discusses this a lot better than what I'm doing currently. So rather than just absolutely butchering it, I will pull it up right now. So I should be pretty close. And then I'll talk a little more about the pupil and all that sort of thing. All right, so what it says here, I wish I could show it. So I'm going to try my best. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's a little hard to see, but basically it's showing they have improper terminology. So everyone is equipped with features to protect their eyes, but they differ slightly based on certain factors, such as living condition and climate. For example, those who live in areas with intense sunshine have dents to protect their eyes from direct sunlight. Those who live in areas with lots of snow have thick eyeballs to protect their eyes from the cold. What they're referring to is the fat, or what they refer to as a dent, essentially shading their eye. So the eyes of Inuits living in polar regions are small to protect their eyeballs from freezing and to block as much of the UV rays that reflect off the snow. Still, snow goggles are necessary for activities that require long-term exposure to UV rays, such as hunting and traveling. The purpose for this is they can acquire snow blindness, which is super dangerous. Now, the one thing that I would like to know about is hair color and the purpose for that, because there is very few locations in which red hair is a predominant trait among individuals. First off, I don't know why this is not charging. I think because the light needs to be on. Really. So now, yeah, it's gone. They discuss a lot more about eyes, specifically your pupil. And it's interesting because there is a statement saying the eyes are the windows to the soul, and it's really weird because, all right, they say your eyes may be a small sensory organ that makes up barely 1% of the human body, but their role and existence is essential. This explains why cartoonists place a huge emphasis on the eyes to display the character's emotions through a small image. And they show some examples from different groups of people. So different animations have their own unique styles, and in particular, like Big Eyes, you can easily read his mind. In other words, he is open to communication and is unpretentious. Small Eyes, there is little room for communication. It is your instinct to raise your guard. Eyes with less visible pupils, it's hard to figure out what he is thinking. He has a mysterious image like a saint or a fairy. All right, Westerner eyes, thin eyelids, light-colored iris makes pupil more visible, prone to direct communication. Asian eyes, thick eyelids, dark-colored iris, making pupils less visible, prone to indirect metaphorical communication. Now, I don't necessarily agree, but it's specific to the different cultures and their. I don't want to read that yet. That's I don't know. I haven't read the comic yet. I can't spoil that for myself. Something that just pulled up. I got a YouTube notification for one of the most recent comics for Avatar, produced by Dark Horse Comics, which I really recommend reading because I think they did a great job and they really expanded on the universe in which Nickelodeon was prone to sort of backpedaling and forcing them to limit what they could do with the show, in which Dark Horse sort of gives them all the space that they need, which is great. So they discuss on a lot of topics that the animation couldn't. Back to the point. So carnivores have forward-facing eyes. So, and their opposite are herbivores, which have eyes based on the side. And what's crazy is the ratio in which you have a blind spot in your field of view. So human beings are pretty. We have our field of view is 200%. 200 over 360. But horses, freaking ridiculous. Like, they have 10% in which they have no visibility. Cats have 280, but horses are somehow freaking morons. I don't know if you've ever read up or heard about horses. Just like they're both intelligent creatures and both the dumbest creatures on the planet. I don't get it. It's so stupid. But I mean, the same can be said about any creature, like human beings, for instance. Oh, Lord, the things that we all do that's just ridiculous. And again, I think it comes down to education, and I mean, that's a whole other thing. Now, I think I'm gonna continue with the drawing because we've only got about 2 hours left, and I'd like to do other things besides just the book. So, to move on, what I'm going to do later today, I'm going to be drawing a lot more with the current commission that I have that I've taken way longer than I should have. I like to have deadlines, and when I'm never given a deadline, I tend to drag the commission out longer than it should until the person probably has no interest in it, but they're stuck into this deal, this contract essentially, in which they've paid me, so they have, or they haven't paid me yet, and they have to pay me for the services that I've provided. So the deal here is I'd like to get into contract work that has deadlines. So I'd like to start either getting of course, I'd like to read through this book thoroughly, very often. I'd like to read through it front to back a few times, just so I get a handle of everything, so I understand everything perfectly. And then I'll start moving on to references. I already work with references, but it's difficult to create a reference if you don't know what's actually functioning, what's there. So that's where this book comes into play. Once I know where everything is, it's easier to see what the reference is trying to show me. So say someone's twisted and their hand is back trying to hold them up, and they're see what I'm trying to get at? There are muscles that are tensing. There is a certain balance that you'll start to understand. Because at this point, all the weight is basically going to this arm. This arm is probably straining to hold up the weight of this individual, unless this individual is further to the ground and they have both feet equally apart, and then they have another arm on the ground. there's a number of things that contribute to a human being and its movement and weight, and I'd love to learn it all, like immediately. The process is so long and time consuming. Like at this point, I've learned a number of things, but in comparison to how it actually all functions and comes together, I've learned almost nothing. Like I can draw an individual and you'll understand it's a human being, but you've seen human beings your entire life. You know how it looks through generations. Yeah, you've essentially evolved to visualize certain things and understand that, yeah, that is real. That's something that I can see in the world. That's why visual effects, when it comes down to things like steel, are a lot easier to make, because steel isn't necessarily something that we've seen for hundreds of generations. A face is. A face facilitates all emotion, all character. That's why cartoons use the face to sort of project how a person is feeling, and they use the body movement over-exaggerated intentionally to draw out emotion, because you can't necessarily see what the individual is thinking. So in order to replace that, they need to use body movement, body language, facial features, all to contribute to convincing your audience that this character, this creature, is alive. All right, moving on. All right, let's get back to it, because I've spent enough time yapping. Okay. Now, we've gone through the front view. We're going through the side view. We'll do the back view. I mean, it's not necessarily as important, and I don't think it's very helpful, just because what I'm saying is, unless the person is opened up, there's really no need to show the back of the skull, because it's pretty, like, you got the brainstem, and then you got, I forget the terminology. Yeah. Basically, this is essentially what you'd be seeing. And even still, like, if you have the entire structure, the facial structure, you're only seeing like that little bit. Mind you, it's important. It's important to know, but you're not seeing a whole lot. So one of the things that I like with like cybernetics and stuff, specifically from a few artists. There's one named, I think it's like Anthony Edwards or something, or Edwards and Anthony. Basically, his name on Instagram is Fuel Stains. That's fuel stains. And then you have Kim Jong-gi. Both of these individuals make some pretty incredible work, ranging from a number of things, from human beings to animals to the cybernetics, or the one thing both understand is like hydraulics and like mechanics and electrical work, and they implement it into their drawings, creating a number of things like I don't know, like feet. They do a whole lot of like rotary work. See, this is a bad example, but that's basically what they do. It's pretty incredible work, is all I'm trying to get out. If you do have the time, just check them out. You know, I was really into wanting to do more with this, but my back is killing me, so I'm gonna stand. And I'm gonna like stretch out because chair sucks, man. Good lord. I think rather than work on side view and then finish up with all this, and I'm gonna keep working on Harley Quinn. Let me just check out. I don't know who's like on. That's the one thing I want to like know. I don't know who's actually viewing this. I don't see like names. I think I'll learn that, but ultimately it would be nice to know. So let's keep at it. Okay. Got about that much space. I think I can get it. So let's draw our circles. Now from here, a little indentation. Once again, it comes down to thirds, so one half. So really, this should be that. I'll zoom in a sec. I'm just honestly, I don't have much to say about that, but I think it's time to increase. SNRK all day. Na 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 na. So much fun. Alright, so this part is gonna get a little complicated. So and skimming stones. And a place of my own. Doing things out the block and rock. While the other kids walking around the block. They were up and pumping to crocodile rock, yeah. Freaking idiot. Okay. Now, all the snow is melting, and you can hear it shifting on the roof. La 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 la. Okay. I know I went through that a little quickly. I just really wanted to finish it off because I didn't really want to continue working on this. Which is lazy on my part, but you know, I'll make a video or something pertaining to this now. Okay. And it gets into a bit more with cartilage, but I got about an hour and a half in which I'm gonna discuss something. I don't really know. That's basically what we got for the day. Doesn't look like much. All of these are very weird. Not quite what I wanted. Let's do skull. Probably organize into files at some point. Let's do this. Now, let me grab my charger. All right, let's open. All right, so we've got this little comic character. I think we'll work more with her first before we do any more airbrushing. Now, the issue with her is this, because her angle means that the rib cage. Let me grab the pencil. First, let's erase it because increase the size of that because it takes a little too much time. All right, so we're not going to worry about the arm yet because that's different. Now, the rib cage would be pretty low. Which means that this is the angle of this shoulder should be a little further down. And this See, I'm not doing something right. Maybe. Let's erase the entire body. All right, so I think. I'm gonna do some sort of like Alex Russo style pose. If you don't know who that is, I recommend looking him up. He's a pretty amazing artist. He's very old school, but I mean, he has like this realism aspect that a lot of artists just don't share. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of amazing artists out there, but his type of like artwork is just beyond everyone. With the exception of like Korean artists are on a whole like other world. Like they could be like anthropologists and mechanics, and it's just like I don't even know how to describe it. It's just freaking amazing. I should probably get rid of the hammer. Ligami Mamacita. Okay, so here's the hard part. That doesn't look right. I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Feels too. So I'm talking about weight. It's oh my god. Maybe 3 hours is too long. Because I'm dragging, man. How the vibe? How is the vibe? Hey. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I think I'm just gonna listen to a movie while I work. I just don't really have the patience. This one dude, he does this Wednesday stream. It's a group drawing, and he does it for 4 hours. 4 hours where he just draws with other people. and I don't even know where to start. Like, that sort of thing is crazy to me. I will the bomb. All right, I'm done. I'm gonna focus on a different Harley comic character. Destiny. Joyful and happy. Winter, spring. I need to fix this. It's too wacky, I guess you can say. It's got All right. That's time. I'll be on later today, about 7 or 8 o'clock. Hopefully on time. Yeah, have a good one.